Imagine this. You're in the middle of a dream. You're running through a forest or maybe flying above the city skyline. Suddenly, something clicks. You realize, wait a second, this is a dream. And instead of waking up, you stay inside it, aware, conscious, free to do whatever you want. Fly to the stars? Sure. Talk to a childhood hero? Why not? Face your biggest fears in a safe space? Absolutely. That's lucid dreaming. And Stephen LaBerge's book, Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming, is pretty much the Bible on the subject. The first time I heard about lucid dreaming, I thought it sounded like science fiction. I mean, how can you be awake while you're asleep? But LaBerge, a psychophysiologist at Stanford, spent years proving it's not only real, but trainable. You can learn how to do it, step by step. And this book is the ultimate guide. When I first picked it up, I couldn't put it down. It's not just theory, it's a manual packed with techniques, exercises, and experiments you can try tonight. LaBerge mixes scientific rigor with practical dreamer's wisdom, and the result is electrifying. The book was published in 1990, co-written with Howard Rheingold. At the time, lucid dreaming was still fringe, something yogis and mystics talked about, but science hadn't taken seriously. LaBerge changed that. Through clever lab experiments, he proved that lucid dreamers could signal to researchers while dreaming using pre-agreed eye movements. This was groundbreaking, objective proof that lucidity inside dreams was real. That's what makes the book so special. It's not just wild stories of dream adventures, it's grounded in research. LaBerge blends psychology, neuroscience, and personal practice to show that lucid dreaming isn't a fluke, it's a skill. And why does that matter? Because dreams aren't just random movies in our heads. They're mirrors of our minds, stages for our fears and desires, and playgrounds for creativity. If you can wake up inside them, you gain a tool for growth, healing, and self-discovery. Here's what the book promises. Practical techniques to become lucid in dreams, how to use lucid dreams for creativity, problem solving, and emotional healing, ways to confront fears and nightmares safely, insights from both ancient traditions and modern science. I remember trying one of LaBerge's reality check techniques for the first time. During the day, I kept asking myself, am I dreaming? I'd look at my hands, check the clock, glance away and back. In waking life, everything stayed normal. But one night, I dreamed of checking a clock, and the numbers scrambled. In that instant, I realized I was dreaming. The thrill was unforgettable. That's what LaBerge's book does. It takes something that sounds mystical and makes it practical. By the time you finish, you'll know not just how to lucid dream, but how to use it. Whether to fly across the galaxies, rehearse a tough conversation, or just deepen your relationship with your own subconscious. So, here's the plan for our breakdown. Across the next 4 parts, we'll walk step by step through the book. The science and history of lucid dreaming, the core techniques LaBerge teaches, like mild, wild, and reality testing, the amazing uses of lucid dreams, from creativity to healing, and finally, the cultural impact, why this book is still the go-to manual decades later. By the end of the series, you'll not only understand LaBerge's book, you'll have the tools to start exploring your own dream world. So buckle up. Tonight when you fall asleep, you may never see your dreams the same way again.
Let's rewind for a moment. Before Stephen LaBerge came along, lucid dreaming was mostly treated as fantasy. Mystics and yogis had talked about it for centuries, but Western science? For the longest time, it shrugged. Dreams were considered private, unverifiable experiences. You could say you were aware in a dream, but how could anyone prove it? That was the challenge LaBerge set out to solve, and the way he did it still blows my mind. Ancient roots. First, let's look at history. Lucid dreaming isn't new. Ancient Tibetan Buddhists practiced something called dream yoga, a form of meditation inside dreams. Aristotle himself wrote about dreams where the dreamer knows they're dreaming. Even in medieval Islamic texts, there are references to conscious dreaming as a form of spiritual exploration. So the idea has been around forever, but it was mostly philosophical or mystical. No hard evidence, no experiments, just anecdotes. The birth of dream science. Fast forward to the 20th century. Sleep science started taking off with the discovery of REM sleep in the 1950s. REM, rapid eye movement, is when most vivid dreaming happens. Scientists learned that during REM, your brain is highly active, almost like you're awake, but your body is paralyzed to stop you from acting out your dreams. This was huge. Suddenly, dreams weren't just random. They were tied to measurable brain states. But still, the question lingered. Could people actually wake up inside their dreams? LaBerge's breakthrough. Enter Stephen LaBerge in the late 1970s and early 80s. He was a grad student at Stanford, fascinated by lucid dreaming from his own personal experiences, but he wanted to prove it scientifically. Here's where his genius comes in. He realized that while dreamers' bodies are paralyzed in REM sleep, their eyes still move. If a lucid dreamer could control their eyes inside the dream, they could send a signal to the waking world. So LaBerge designed an experiment. He trained himself to become lucid in a dream. Once lucid, he moved his dream body's eyes left, right, in a pre-agreed pattern. Back in the lab, electrodes hooked up to his eyes recorded the exact same movement while he was asleep. Think about how wild that is. The first time it worked, he literally proved, with data, that people can be consciously aware while dreaming. The dreamer's subjective experience matched an objective, measurable signal. This was groundbreaking. It was like cracking open a window into the dream world. Suddenly, scientists couldn't ignore lucid dreaming anymore. It was measurable, repeatable, real. Dream science in action. LaBerge didn't stop there. He ran more experiments. For example, timing actions in dreams. He asked lucid dreamers to count to 10 inside their dream and signal when they started and finished. The timing matched real-world seconds, showing that dream time often runs parallel to waking time. Practicing skills in dreams. He studied how rehearsing actions in dreams, like singing or even sports, showed similar brain activity to doing them awake. That suggested lucid dreams could be a legit training ground for real-life skills. Nightmares. He found that lucid dreamers could confront and even transform their nightmares, reducing fear responses in waking life. Each experiment chipped away at the wall between real science and dream folklore. Why this matters? This wasn't just academic trivia. LaBerge's work gave credibility to something millions of people had experienced but couldn't prove. It said, your wild dream adventures, your sudden moments of awareness in sleep, aren't hallucinations. They're a real, testable state of consciousness. It also opened up new possibilities. If dreams are a state we can study and influence, then they're not just passive movies we watch every night. They're interactive spaces. And that means you can use them for creativity. You can face your fears in a safe sandbox. You can even explore consciousness itself. For me, reading about LaBerge's experiments was like having someone flip on a light switch. Suddenly, lucid dreaming wasn't just something mystical. It was real, grounded, scientific, and that made it feel achievable. The skeptics. Of course, not everyone was convinced right away. Some scientists dismissed it as a curiosity. Others argued it wasn't practical. But over time, more labs replicated LaBerge's findings. Today, lucid dreaming is widely accepted in sleep research. It's even studied for therapeutic uses, like treating PTSD nightmares. And it all traces back to those first eye signals LaBerge sent from inside his dream. Storytime reflection. I'll never forget the first time I tried to replicate one of LaBerge's methods. I was obsessed with the idea of eye signals, so I practiced reality checks during the day, looking left and right with exaggerated movements, telling myself, if I ever realize I'm dreaming, I'll do this. One night, I became lucid. My heart raced. I didn't want to wake up, but I remembered the experiment. I looked left, then right, then left again. And even though no electrodes were measuring me, I knew I just joined the tradition of dreamers sending signals from another world. It was surreal. Wrapping up part 2. So here's where we are. Lucid dreaming has deep roots in history and philosophy. Modern science, thanks to REM research, made studying dreams possible. Stephen LaBerge cracked the code by proving lucid dreaming is real using eye signals in the sleep lab. His experiments showed that dreamers can control, measure, and even use dreams for growth. This foundation is what makes exploring the world of lucid dreaming more than a curiosity. It's a manual for exploring consciousness itself, built on both tradition and science. In the next part, we'll roll up our sleeves and look at the core techniques LaBerge teaches. This is the practical toolkit, things like MILD, mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, and WILD, wake-induced lucid dreams, and reality testing that you can start using tonight to trigger lucidity.
Up until now, we've covered the history, the science, and the proof that lucid dreaming is real. But let's be honest, the part we're all waiting for is this. How do you actually do it? That's where LaBerge's book really shines. It doesn't just tell you lucid dreaming exists, it gives you a step-by-step toolkit to make it happen. And while there are many techniques out there, LaBerge focuses on a handful of powerful ones you can start practicing tonight. Reality testing. Let's start with the simplest and maybe the most important habit, reality testing. The idea is simple. During the day, you stop and ask yourself, am I dreaming? At first, it feels silly. Of course you're not dreaming. You're watching this video, sitting in your room, maybe sipping tea. But here's the trick. If you do it often enough, the habit seeps into your dreams. And one night, when you ask the same question inside a dream, the answer will surprise you. LaBerge suggests specific checks. Look at your hands. Do they look normal? In dreams, hands often look distorted. Read text or look at a clock. Look away and back. In dreams, the words or numbers usually scramble. Pinch your nose and try to breathe. If you can still breathe, you're dreaming. I remember the first time this worked for me. I was in a dream, staring at a digital clock. It read 3:17. I looked away, then back. It now read 8:42. My brain went, hold on, that's impossible. Boom, instant lucidity. That moment, when you realize the impossible is happening, is electrifying. And it all starts with a simple habit, reality testing. MILD, mnemonic induction of lucid dreams. The next tool is called MILD, which sounds complicated, but really isn't. It's about using intention and memory to spark lucidity. Here's how it works. When you wake up from a dream, especially in the middle of the night, recall it as vividly as you can. As you go back to sleep, repeat to yourself, next time I'm dreaming, I will remember I'm dreaming. Visualize yourself back in the dream you just left, but imagine realizing it's a dream. This technique uses your memory and imagination as triggers. You're basically planting a seed in your subconscious. Remember to wake up inside the dream. When I first tried MILD, I was skeptical. But one night, after a vivid dream about being on a train, I woke up, rehearsed the scene, and told myself I'd recognize it next time. Sure enough, later that night, I dreamed I was back on that train. This time, though, I remembered my intention. I looked around, smiled, and said, "This is a dream." It felt like stepping through a hidden doorway into a world I'd been visiting all my life, but now with the lights on. Wild. Now for the advanced move. Wild. This one is tricky but powerful. The idea is to go directly from waking into a lucid dream without losing consciousness. You lie down, relax completely, and let your body drift into sleep while keeping your mind awake. If you do it right, you slide straight into a dream, fully aware from the beginning. Sounds cool, right? But it can also be intense. Many people experience sleep paralysis, where your body is frozen but your mind is awake, or vivid hypnagogic imagery, like flashes of light or sounds. I remember the first time I got close with wild. I lay still, focused on my breath, and suddenly felt vibrations ripple through my body. It was a little scary. I thought, am I dying? But then I fell into a dream scene, standing in a street, fully lucid from the first moment. It was like teleporting into another world. LaBerge says wild is one of the most reliable techniques once mastered, but it takes practice and patience. Dream journaling. This one's non-negotiable. Keep a dream journal. The moment you wake up, write down everything you remember from your dreams, even scraps, even nonsense. Over time, you'll start to see patterns, recurring places, people, or themes. These become your dream signs, clues that can trigger lucidity. When I started journaling, I noticed a recurring theme of elevators. For some reason, I kept dreaming of being stuck in weird elevators. Once I spotted the pattern, the next time it happened, I recognized it as a dream. Elevator equals dream equals lucidity. Dream journaling also improves recall. And what's the point of lucid dreaming if you can't remember it the next morning? The wake back to bed method. LaBerge also recommends a hack called Wake Back to Bed, or WBTB. Here's how it works. Set an alarm for 4 to 6 hours after you fall asleep. Wake up, stay up for 15 to 30 minutes, maybe read about lucid dreaming, then go back to sleep with the intention of becoming lucid. Why does this work? Because later in the night, REM periods are longer and closer together. By waking up and then returning to sleep, you catch yourself in the sweet spot for vivid dreams, and with your awareness primed, lucidity is more likely. Combining techniques. LaBerge emphasizes that no single technique works for everyone. The real magic comes from combining them. Reality checks during the day, plus dream journaling at night, plus occasional WBTB equals way higher odds of lucidity. Think of it like training your brain. Each technique is a different workout. Together, they build your lucidity muscles. The patience factor. Here's something important LaBerge stresses. Patience. Lucid dreaming is a skill, not an instant trick. Some people get it on the first try. For most, it takes weeks or months of consistent practice. When I first started, I went 2 weeks with zero lucidity. I was frustrated, ready to give up. But then, bam, I had one lucid dream and it changed everything. That one success was enough to keep me going. And over time, the frequency increased. LaBerge calls this the virtuous cycle. The more you succeed, the more motivated you get, and the easier it becomes. Wrapping up part 3. So here's what we've learned in this part. Reality testing builds the habit of questioning reality, which carries into dreams. Mild plants the intention to become lucid. Wild lets you step directly into dreams consciously. Dream journaling trains your recall and helps identify dream signs. WBTB hacks your sleep cycle to maximize lucidity. Together, these form the core toolkit of exploring the world of lucid dreaming. They're practical, trainable, and powerful, and they can turn your nights from random movies into conscious adventures. In the next part, we'll explore what you can actually do with lucid dreams once you become aware, using them for creativity, problem solving, emotional healing, and even facing fears. That's where the book really opens up into a world of possibilities. By now, we've gone through the science, the proof, and the techniques. You know how to become lucid in a dream. But here's the million-dollar question. Once you're in, what do you actually do? Because let's be honest, the first time most people become lucid, they do one thing. They fly. And that's totally valid. I'll never forget my first lucid flight. Launching off the ground, soaring over rooftops, feeling the wind on my face. It was exhilarating. But as LaBerge points out, flying is just the beginning. Lucid dreams can be tools for deep creativity, emotional healing, and even self-discovery. Creativity on demand. One of the most exciting uses of lucid dreams is as a creative playground. Think about it. In a lucid dream, you have access to your entire subconscious, free from the limits of waking logic. It's like having a direct line to your imagination. Artists, writers, musicians, they've all reported drawing inspiration from dreams. Paul McCartney famously said the melody for Yesterday came to him in a dream. Salvador Dali used dream imagery constantly in his surreal paintings. LaBerge shows you how to go further. Become lucid, then intentionally ask your dream for inspiration. You might walk into a dream library, open a book, and find new ideas. Or sit at a piano in the dream world and hear music you've never played before. I tried this once for writing. In a lucid dream, I asked, "Show me something beautiful to write about." Suddenly, I was standing in a glowing canyon filled with floating lanterns. When I woke up, I scribbled pages of notes. That dream became the seed of a story I never would have thought of awake. Problem solving. Lucid dreams aren't just for art. They can be practical too. LaBerge cites examples of people solving real-world problems in dreams. Because your brain is still working but free of normal constraints, you can approach challenges in fresh ways. Imagine you're stuck on a math problem, a business challenge, or even a personal decision. In a lucid dream, you can reframe it. Ask your dream self for solutions, or simulate possible outcomes in a safe space. One famous case is chemist Agust Kekula, who dreamed of a snake biting its tail and woke with the insight that the benzene molecule was ring-shaped. That wasn't a lucid dream, but imagine if it had been. With lucidity, you can guide the process. Facing fears. This is one of the most powerful applications. Confronting nightmares. Normally, nightmares feel terrifying because you're trapped inside them. But if you become lucid, the dynamic changes completely. Instead of running from the monster, you can turn and face it. Ask it what it represents, or even embrace it. LaBerge describes cases where recurring nightmares dissolved after someone became lucid and interacted with the threat instead of fleeing. I'll share a personal example. For years, I had a recurring dream of being chased by a shadowy figure. Every time, I'd run until I woke up sweaty and panicked. After learning lucid dreaming, one night I recognized the dream signs and realized, wait, I'm dreaming. Instead of running, I stopped. The figure approached, my heart pounded, but I asked, "Who are you?" And suddenly, it transformed into a younger version of myself, scared, hurt, needing attention. That one lucid dream changed how I viewed that nightmare forever. That's the power of lucidity. Fear becomes dialogue, and nightmares become teachers. Emotional healing. Lucid dreams can also be used for deeper emotional work. LaBerge explains that dreams often dramatize our inner struggles. By entering them consciously, you can work through grief, anger, or trauma in a symbolic space. For instance, someone grieving a lost loved one might dream of meeting them again, and in lucidity, choose to have a conversation, say goodbye, or find closure. Others have used lucid dreams to practice forgiveness, confronting people from their past and releasing resentment. These experiences can feel incredibly real. The brain doesn't always distinguish between waking and dreaming emotions. That means breakthroughs in a lucid dream can ripple into waking life. Practicing skills. Here's a surprising one. You can actually practice skills in lucid dreams. LaBerge's studies showed that when dreamers rehearsed actions like singing, throwing a ball, or even sports, the same brain regions lit up as when doing them awake. That means lucid dreams can be like mental training gyms. Athletes have used them to rehearse movements, musicians can practice performances, even public speakers can rehearse talks in front of dream audiences. I once used lucidity to practice guitar. In the dream, my fingers moved effortlessly, playing music I didn't even know I could play. When I woke up, the muscle memory wasn't perfect, but the confidence carried over. It's like your brain gets a head start. Spiritual exploration. LaBerge also connects lucid dreaming to spiritual traditions. For Tibetan Buddhists, dream yoga is about realizing the illusory nature of all experience, dreams and waking life alike. For some people, lucid dreaming becomes a path to deeper awareness of consciousness itself. Even if you're not spiritual, lucid dreams can feel transcendent. The sheer wonder of standing in a dream, knowing you're dreaming, often sparks a sense of awe. It's like stepping into a cathedral built by your own mind. The danger of escapism. LaBerge does offer a warning, though. Lucid dreaming is powerful, but it shouldn't become pure escapism. If you only use it to live fantasies while neglecting waking life, you risk imbalance. The goal is integration, using dreams to enrich your waking life, not replace it. That's why he emphasizes applying lessons from dreams, whether it's courage from facing nightmares, ideas from creativity, or healing from emotional breakthroughs, back into your daily reality. Wrapping up part 4. So here's what we've seen in part 4. Lucid dreams aren't just playgrounds. They're laboratories, therapists' couches, training grounds, and temples. You can unlock creativity and problem solving, transform nightmares into teachers, heal emotionally by engaging with symbols, rehearse real-world skills, and explore consciousness itself. The possibilities are as vast as your imagination. And that's why LaBerge's book is so beloved. It doesn't just tell you how to become lucid, it shows you why it matters. In the final part, we'll pull it all together. We'll look at the cultural impact of LaBerge's work, the legacy of lucid dreaming research, and how you can carry these lessons forward in your own journey.
We've traveled far together, from the ancient roots of lucid dreaming through Stephen LaBerge's groundbreaking experiments into the core techniques and the vast playground of dream applications. But before we close the book, let's step back and see the bigger picture. What's the legacy of exploring the world of lucid dreaming? Why has it become the classic manual for dreamers around the world? Lucid dreaming goes mainstream. Before LaBerge, lucid dreaming was often dismissed as fantasy. Mystics whispered about it, philosophers speculated, but science shrugged. After LaBerge, things changed. His experiments, the eye signals, the dream timing, the skill practice brought lucid dreaming into the lab. That credibility sparked a cultural shift. Suddenly, lucid dreaming wasn't just for monks or artists. It was on the radar of psychologists, neuroscientists, and even therapists treating nightmares and PTSD. By the 1990s, when this book came out, it gave curious dreamers a practical guide. You didn't need to be a scientist. You just needed curiosity, patience, and a notebook. That accessibility is part of why the book is still so loved. Influence on pop culture. Lucid dreaming also started seeping into movies, books, and games. Think of Christopher Nolan's Inception, where dreamers build whole worlds inside dreams, or Richard Linklater's Waking Life, which dives into dream lucidity and philosophy. Even video games like The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening play with dream awareness. While not all of this came directly from LaBerge, his work legitimized the concept, inspiring creators to explore it. Suddenly, the dream world wasn't just fantasy, it was a frontier of consciousness. Legacy in science and therapy. Today, LaBerge's legacy lives on in research labs across the globe. Scientists study lucid dreams for nightmare therapy, helping people with PTSD reframe and control recurring nightmares, skill training, athletes and musicians using dream practice to sharpen performance, neuroscience, understanding how consciousness can exist in different states. His eye signal method is still used in labs to verify lucidity objectively, and many dream researchers credit Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming as the book that first sparked their passion. My reflection on legacy. For me, the legacy of this book is empowerment. It says you don't have to be a passive passenger in your dreams. You can wake up, take the wheel, and explore. That message spills into waking life too. Think about it. If you can learn to wake up inside your dreams, maybe you can also wake up inside your daily routines. Instead of drifting on autopilot, you start living with awareness. That's what hit me hardest, that lucidity is more than a nighttime skill. It's a metaphor for conscious living. The limitless frontier. LaBerge often said that lucid dreaming is still in its infancy. We're only scratching the surface of what's possible. Will future science use dreams for therapy more widely? For creativity? Maybe even for exploring consciousness in ways we can't yet imagine? That open frontier is part of the magic. Every dreamer becomes an explorer, adding to the map of what's possible. And this book is like the compass you carry into that territory. Audience engagement. Now, let me throw this over to you. Have you ever had a lucid dream? If you became lucid tonight, what's the very first thing you'd do? Would you fly, face a fear, or maybe just look around in awe? Drop your answer in the comments. I love hearing these stories. Each one is a little window into another person's dream world. And if you've never had one, maybe this is your invitation to start. Pick one technique, dream journaling, reality checks, or MILD, and try it tonight. You might be surprised how quickly the magic happens. Recommendations. If exploring the world of lucid dreaming excites you, here are a few other reads you might enjoy. Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self by Robert Waggoner, more advanced explorations of what lucid dreams can teach you about consciousness. And Dream Yoga by Andrew Holchek, a deep dive into the Tibetan tradition of lucid dreaming as a spiritual practice. And if you want to pair it with neuroscience, Matthew Walker's Why We Sleep gives you the latest science on sleep and dreams. Together, they expand the world LaBerge opened. Call to action. If this deep dive into exploring the world of lucid dreaming sparked your imagination, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Subscribe for more long-form book breakdowns, from timeless classics to modern guides. And share this video with someone who's curious about dreams. You never know, you might inspire them to start their own dream journal tonight. Closing thought. Here's how I want to leave you. Every night when you close your eyes, your mind creates entire worlds. Mountains, cities, oceans, skies, all built from memory and imagination. For most of us, we wander through those worlds half asleep, passive observers. But LaBerge's message is this: you don't have to. You can wake up. And when you do, those dream worlds become not just playgrounds, but classrooms, healing spaces, and temples of creativity. They show you not just who you are, but who you could be. So the next time you dream, remember, the impossible might be happening. Ask yourself, am I dreaming? And if the answer is yes, smile, spread your wings, and step into a frontier as vast as your imagination. That's the world Stephen LaBerge invites us to explore. And once you step inside, you'll never look at sleep the same way again.